19-year-old male student presented with chief complaints of low backache from 6th of September 2021 and retention of urine from 8th of September 2021.
Yes. Yeah. What do you make out of that, please?
Acute onset low backache and retention of urine, we should first think of spinal cord problems, sir, since it's a young male, like any transverse myelitis, spinal cord injury.
But will you get no weakness in transverse myelitis producing retention urine?
No, sir, we usually get a lower limb weakness.
So, any other thinking? No harm. We'll proceed forward.
Yes, sir.
So, what all details you want?
So I want to know if the patient is having any motor complaints, sensory complaints.
Not at this point of time.
Okay, sir. Any bowel disturbances, sir?
Not really.
No. Any history of fever, sir?
No.
A trauma, sir?
He was traveling on a bike. He traveled for 3 hours.
Okay, sir.
From one district to another district, and end of that day he felt some backache, which he attributed to the travel, but there was no trauma or fall. What are the common red flag symptoms of backache?
Sudden onset, very severe backache, which is disturbing the patient from sleep.
That point is correct. Sleep disturbance, okay.
Yes, sir.
Bowel involvement, bladder involvement is important.
Yes, sir.
Fever, weight loss is important. Pain going below the knee joint is important. Tingling, numbness, paresthesia, any neurological complaint is significant.
Yes, sir.
So we are stuck with retention here. Let us go forward.
Okay. Numbness in the right lower limb on 9.
So you see the date. Please see the date. First day low backache, then went to retention. Now numbness the right lower limb. What do you think about that? Which part of the neuraxis is affected here?
Compressive myelopathy is also possible, sir, in this patient.
Compressive myelopathy usually produces a level at the level of the third trunk, you know.
Yes, sir. Low back pain, constrictive type of pain.
Here is numbness only right lower limb. Is it the pattern in spinal cord?
No, sir.
So what can be unilateral numbness of one limb?
Plexus and peripheral nerve can be involved, sir.
Peripheral nerve. Peripheral nerve will have nerve distribution of numbness.
Yes, sir.
Okay, carry on. Next day.
Weakness of right lower limb.
So where do you localize now? Okay. Next day, where did you go?
Next day, numbness of the other lower limb. Other day, he developed weakness of the other lower limb.
Okay, then carry on.
On 13th, he had a band-like sensation over the mid-abdomen.
What does it mean?
It helps in localizing, sir. From that, it helps in localizing the level of lesion.
Okay, so the posterior segment or posterior column is
involved. Irritated. Yes, sir.
At level mid-abdomen means around umbilicus.
T10.
Okay. And he was constipated from the beginning, but there was no incontinence. Carry on.
Back pain worsened, not able to walk from 13th of September 2021. No symptom pertaining to higher mental functions, cranial nerves, and upper limbs.
Then he developed numbness below umbilicus.
Yes, sir.
So what is your concept now?
Acute onset low back pain with retention of urine, constipation, associated sensory and motor disturbances.
The sequence is important here.
Yes, sir.
One limb, then the other limb. So can you localize somewhere here?
Definitely to lumbar spine, sir, thoracolumbar region.
Where exactly?
Since he's having a girdle-like sensation in the mid-abdomen, I can localize to T10, sir. Above T10, he's completely normal.
That's right. So spinal cord T10.
T10.
But will it produce a unilateral one limb first, other limb first?
No, sir. It usually produces symmetrical onset
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So there is definitely a level in the spinal cord at T10, as you correctly said. In addition, we would like to add something more. Yes.
So does he have any family history, any significant?
No. Past history, nothing significant. Family history, nothing significant. Personal history, nothing significant. No history of drugs, exposure to sexually transmitted diseases, tuberculosis, nothing like that. But he gives history that he had a COVID vaccination on 19th of August.
Mm.
So this is something like a 3 weeks gap between the two.
Yes, sir.
So which system is affected here? Nervous system, am I right?
Nervous system, yes, sir.
Where do you anatomically localize? And what is the possible etiology?
Still, post-vaccination transverse myelitis is possible, sir, in this patient.
That is the etiology part.
Yes, sir.
But if you look at literature, COVID vaccination, such presentations are not very much recorded.
Yes, sir.
So many other things are there, but this type of presentations are not seen.
Mm.
So in neurology, first we go for anatomy.
Sir. Anatomical localization to T10, sir.
Spinal cord.
Spinal
but there are a couple of things that we cannot explain. You start with retention, then numbness of one limb, weakness of one limb, numbness of other limb, weakness of both lower limbs.
Yes, sir.
That sequence is something not very classical for a spinal cord. Spinal cord, definitely there is a level.
Yes, sir.
You are absolutely correct. T10. Yes.
On examination, general examination is normal, higher mental functions are normal, upper limbs normal, neck is normal, Bevo's sign is positive, cranial nerves are normal.
Fundi normal and pupils no. Marcus
different. Yes, sir.
What does Bevo's sign indicate to you?
So Bevo's sign basically it indicates that the patient is having a lower abdominal muscle weakness. So on contracting, the umbilicus moves upwards.
That's fine. Good. Good. Can you name a myopathy where we may get this type of finding?
Initially one muscle, then to other, sir.
No. Myopathy. Muscle disease. Where you can get Bevo's sign. Facial scapulohumeral myopathy can sometimes have this. Okay. Lower limb.
No wasting detected. Hypotonia of bilateral lower limbs, more on the right side. Power asymmetrical. Reflexes.
We'll come to the power in detail.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Reflexes.
Abdominal reflex is absent. Cremasteric is absent on the right side. Plantar extensor bilateral.
Sometimes it's extensor, sometimes it's a flexor. We may take it as extensor. It always was not extensor. Sometimes we draw it, sometimes mute like that. Okay. Sensation lost from feet up to umbilicus. Below umbilicus, no sensation.
Yes, sir.
Clinically, what's your impression? Physiological diagnosis.
So it's an element kind of lesion with a patient having.
When you say spinal cord T10, is it LMN or UMN?
LMN only, sir.
Spinal cord T10. Why do you go for? Why did you say it's LMN lesion?
Sir, from the history, patient is having a hypotonia with absent reflexes.
What happens in neuronal shock?
So UMN with the stage of spinal shock also presents with a similar thing, but here, since the patient is having a bilateral extensor plantar, we can think of UMN with the spinal shock, sir.
And that's right. So, physiologically, what is the diagnosis? Anatomically, what is the diagnosis? Etiologically, what is the diagnosis?
So anatomically, it's localizing to spinal cord at the level of T10.
Anywhere else? You said peripheral nerve. Can you go up somewhere else? Now, this is a case of paraplegia. Your
Yes, sir.
impression is correct. Spinal cord T10 is okay. Sensory wise and behavior time it is okay.
Yes,
As
sir.
far as reflexes are concerned up to T6. Okay.
Okay, sir.
If corners is affected to start with, what will the complaint of the patient? Retention urine.
Retention urine and fecal incontinence.
Okay. And the coda is also affected. You get this asymmetrical pattern. Numbness of one limb, weakness. Numbness of opposite limb and weakness.
Okay, sir.
And the possibility is demyelination, as you rightly said, vaccination related. So you got the point in localization. You got it now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So coda equine like presentation to start with. Then
Yes,
it has gone
sir.
up to spinal cord T10. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any confusion here?
No, sir.
No. So some investigations are done. He came from outside. All investigation they said. So put it like this: retention urine, pain or limb, weakness, complete weakness, LP study and MRI outside. Okay.
Okay.
It is gradually progressive girdle sensation. He also gave history that twice he had buckling of the knees. What does it indicate to you?
Buckling of knees indicates that patient is having a knee flexor weakness.
Extensor weakness.
Flexor weakness. Yes, sir.
But it's okay. And he said while taking bath, his mother gave him hot water for thinking that it will help him, and he could not appreciate the sensation of heat below umbilicus. Okay. So here comes the power actually in detail. As you can see, both sides were paralyzed.
Yes.
But there was asymmetry on the two sides. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
So, right side you find the zero power and the hip flexion, and the lower down extensor is long as zero, grossly affected. Left side hip was grossly affected, but coming to the distal part is, so there was some asymmetry going on, and reflexes upper limb were normal, but then you find that vulvocavernous, cremasteric, abdomen and all not elicitable, and subsequently the reflexes became normal in the lower limb, start appearing, and plantar also became sometimes flexor, sometimes extensor. Vitals were stable, other systems were normal. So the sensations were lost below the umbilicus. So summarizing again, from bottom upwards, you can go through COVID vaccination. The dates were not very clear. Sometimes he said 15, sometimes 19, approximately 3 weeks. The low backache, girdle sensation, urinary retention, left lower limb, like that it goes.
Yes.
So both sides were repeatedly coming in. And this was summary of the findings. Below the umbilicus, no sensation. Hypotonia both sides, more on right side, and the power also as depicted here. And the arrow indicates that the B-wave sign was positive. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
So the provisional diagnosis we have to put it like this. Physiologically is paraplegia. Anatomically you got some level based upon spinal cord, and early involvement of bladder alone, and sensory and motor on one limb and the other limb, coda. So we can put it like that: extensive lesion from paraplegia, myelitis going to corna and cordus, or vice versa, cornus, coda going up. So demyelination, we cannot say for sure it's post-vaccination. It can be post-viral anything. So what are the investigations you plan in this case?
So we can go with MRI whole spine with contrast, sir, to look for any enhancement of nerve roots, since we are thinking in terms of demyelination.
So what do you find here? That's the area of demyelination in the temporal lobe.
Okay, sir.
What about here?
Frontal.
Frontal lobe.
Frontal lobe.
And what about here? Centrum somnium ovale.
Okay, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
And this is the spinal cord. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
The extensive area of demyelination starting from D5 going up the end of the corners. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Is it the picture clear to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Both the arrows shows that area is the affected one.
Yes, sir.
So what will make your diagnosis be now? It's a demyelinating disease. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
So what is it? Can you say transverse myelitis?
Longitudinally extending transverse myelitis is possible, sir.
That's right. So it's not classical transverse myelitis. So what are the possibilities in longitudinal extensive myelitis?
Since more than 3 consecutive segments are involved,
That's right. What's the diagnosis suspect in those cases? In such cases, you talk about neuromyelitis optica.
yes, sir, but no visual symptoms in this patient.
Visual symptoms were not there, and that was normal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what did you do then?
So we can start with the steroids, sir, to this patient.
You started.
Yes, sir.
Can you see the end of the spinal cord going down? Till the end, it was showing these changes. So we went ahead with visual evoked potential. What do you find?
Prolonged latencies with normal amplitude.
So what does it indicate to you?
Demyelination.
So it was not seen in the imaging. So extensive demyelinating lesion, longitudinal extensive, and you find that the optic nerve demyelination, bladder is affected. So can it be neuromyelitis optica now?
Yes, sir.
How will you confirm it?
Yes, sir. So we can send aquaporin 4 antibodies in.
So actually we were looking at also the viral antibodies. They're all negative. Then this also came as negative.
Okay, sir.
So what is the next one?
We have to do autoimmune etiology, sir, because that can also lead to NMO.
Autoimmune diseases can produce longitudinally extensive spinal cord lesion. But the dictum is whenever you find NMO-like presentation and aquaporin 4 antibodies absent, you think about MOG antibody diseases.
Bodies. Yes, sir.
So what is MOG? MOG. What is MOG? Myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein.
Okay, sir.
It's an adhesive molecule. The exact function of this molecule is not known, but it's believed that it can protect your myelin sheath. It keeps the integrity of the myelin. That's what. So we checked for the anti-MOG antibody that also came as negative. So we thought that it can be double negative type of demyelinating disease. So NMO-like presentation with aquaporin 4 antibody negative and MOG antibody type of negativity.
Okay, sir.
So in conclusion, conclusion, we have got this antimoid type of disease. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The antibody negative disease,
Mm.
and if this patient improved very well on this is the picture. When we give antibodies, his power came back to 5 in few days time. Rapid recovery. By 1st of October he started walking around. Absolutely well. So very short history and very good recovery. So what are the usual differences between multiple sclerosis, NMO and MOG? MOG is a disease of young adults. He was very young.
Yes, sir.
And it is very common in males. Unlike NMO and others, it is more common females. It is a very monophasic disease usually, and recovery is very good. He became absolutely normal, and he had extensive lesion, and treatment was IV glucocorticoids alone. So if you look at the difference between NMO, here you find the antibody specific. It's a very relapsing disease, moderate to severe, and incomplete, usually incomplete in these patients. And again, plasma exchange is one of the treatment prescribed here. Instead, here it is IV immunoglobulin. And compared to multiple sclerosis, common females, relapsing remitting classically, and recovery can be good in the early part. And these bands can be seen 85% of the patients. Okay, and the classical appearance is there on the MRI, Dawson's fingers. Okay, and
Yes.
you got the difference.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you look at the eye alone, you see in our patient, both sides had optic nerve involvement simultaneously.
Bilaterally.
And if you look at NMO, it should go backwards, retrochiasmal also. And multiple sclerosis, usually one nerve alone is affected.
Bilateral.
So this also pointed that we are dealing with something like MOG, maybe double negative type of Demant disease. So how does demyelinating diseases present usually? They present as weakness, paralysis, paresthesia, focal sensory loss, optic neuritis, diplopia, ataxia, vertigo, and so on. So there are different types of demyelinating diseases like optic neuritis,
multiple sclerosis, neuromyelitis, NMO spectrum disorders.
NMO, yes, MOG, encephalitis, transverse myelitis, and Adam-like presentation. They're all demyelinating diseases. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, basic difference between NMO and multiple sclerosis. Here cell mediated, here is both. Okay. Incomplete demyelination, here is complete demyelination, and recovery is not complete. Here is a short segment, here is a more than 3 segment. You rightly said. There are no association here. Other autoimmune association may be there. ANA is always negative here. Can be some association here, may be positive. And DRB1 may or may not be positive. Again, here it may be different. So, what is the differential diagnosis of NMO? NMO can have many. So, what are the comorbidities with neuro syndromes that mimic NMO? Comorbidities. SLE1, Sjogren syndrome 2, Sarcoidosis 3, some dietary deficiencies like copper
Vasculitis.
deficiencies. So deficiencies can be there. The aquaporin negative DD, you said MOG negative, double negative type of NMO is available.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's the clue to diagnosis of MOG?
Bilateral.
Whenever you find on treatment, multiple sclerosis patients are deteriorating, you must think. The optic nerve is a presentation, simultaneous appearance both sides,
Yes, sir.
and only the pre-chiasmatic area is affected. Always think of
MOG.
MOG. Otherwise, NMO, equatorial negative, again think MOG.
Mm.
So what are other extensively longitudinal extensive spinal cord lesions you know? So basically inflammatory lesions, all types of infections, malignancies, metabolic problems, and the autoimmune diseases we said, they can have extensive lesions. What's the prognosis of MOG?
MOG usually has good prognosis, sir.
Very good prognosis, usually do not recur, rarely it recurs.
Yes.
Okay, so always the basic thing is seronegative NMO, think about MOG, and there are some pathological differences between the two. NMO is
Both cell and humoral mediator.
astrocytopathy. Here it is a oligodendrocytopathy. And of course, cell mediated versus both humoral and cell mediated immunity is also a difference. So, in summary, this particular patient is teaching us these are the common investigations we usually do for these patients. And this patient teaches us a lot of lessons to us that spinal cord lesions need not be confined to spinal cord alone, can be extended to corners and coda.
Yes, sir.
If you got any doubt, please ask.
Sir, history-wise, how do we differentiate a conus from coda, sir?
Usually, if it's a symmetrical disease, commonly you think about conus. Early bladder involvement, you think about conus. Coda lesions usually asymmetrical.
Yes, sir.
But always remember, conus lesions, coda lesions do not usually come as an isolated compartment. That's why it's called conus coda syndrome.
Okay, sir.
Very rarely conus alone can be affected. Then only isolated one limb alone, numbness, weakness. When conus get involved, you get bladder involvement.
Okay, sir.
And symmetry is the usual rule. Not a very easy case, I'm sure.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, sir.
I'm sure it's a very difficult case. But young man improving with methylprednisolone for a few days, walking home, back home. He came for a follow-up, absolutely well. We are very much pleased. Have you ever seen cases like this?
No, sir. I did not see conus coda syndrome.
What about the MOG?
MOG, I did not see, sir. We saw NMO and MS.
That's right. NMO and MS is relatively easy, but coming to MOG is not that common. Not that common. That's why the case was selected for presentation. Any other doubt?
No, sir.
What's the root value for knee jerk?
L2, L3, sir.
Pardon?
L2, L3, sir.
What about ankle jerk?
S1, sir.
Okay. Plantar response?
L5, S1, sir.
Okay. Cremasteric reflex?
L1, L2.
And L1.
L1. Yes.
That's fine. That's fine. What's the power of extensor hallucis longus?
Sir?
Extensor hallucis longus muscle power, root value?
Root value.